Resources for Rock River residents become easier than ever to get thanks to one organization visiting the area. 23 News reporter Alyssa Reamer learns more about the General Consulate of Mexico and how it supports people.
Rockford's League of United Latin American Citizens partners with Chicago's General Consulate of Mexico for a resource fair where people can learn how to live a successful life.
Being Mexican myself and being like Latin and Hispanic, we love attending this event to kind of help the community as well.
Brenda Perez, the head of student enrollment at Rock Valley College, knows for Hispanic residents, connecting with important resources can be difficult. That's why she supports Chicago's General Consulate of Mexico's office when it visits the Rockford region.
It makes it really accessible and really easy for everybody to kind of get the necessary documents that they need, because sometimes the commute to Chicago is like a really hard one.
And she's not alone. A similar sentiment echoed around St. Bernadette Parish Friday, as people filled tables seeking assistance for things like finances, basic physicals and vaccinations, and English as second language classes. Perez's table also provided information on renewing green cards.
What we issue here is Mexican passports, Mexican IDs, and the voter registration card for the Mexican nationals.
The event is basically a one-stop shop for people who can't find the time or means to get to Chicago. It also helps residents with the transition from one country to another.
The feedback from the people, it's they feel very happy that the Mexico government just get close to them.
The event will be held until 11:30 in the morning Saturday at Rockford St. Bernadette Parish off of Bell Avenue.
Thanks, Alyssa. Chicago's General Consulate of Mexico travels throughout the state on a weekly basis, delivering their services. Their next stop is Central Illinois.